Hey folks, I've talked about how the internet has become pretty fucked up before, and it turns out Firefox agrees. They're on a mission to unfuck the internet. They're the only major browser backed by a nonprofit. They don't sell your data or sell you out. Downloading an independent browser like Firefox supports a company that's fighting to protect what we actually like about the internet. To download, go to firefox.com/WTF. There's a lot that's fucked. Let's make sure the internet isn't. Also, if you're looking for something new to watch, check out Bruce Springsteen's Letter to You, a new intimate documentary event that's available exclusively on Apple TV+. For the first time ever, go inside the studio with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band as he records his 20th studio album, Letter to You. It's an incredible behind-the-scenes look at the creative process and the unique relationship that has led to so many unforgettable classics. Watch Bruce Springsteen's Letter to You exclusively on the Apple TV app. Subscription required for Apple TV+. All right, let's do the show.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fuck nicks, what the fucking ears, what's happening? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast, obviously broadcasting from another location, a room with a bit of bounce in it. I know you know that I get hung up on bounce. I can hear the sound bouncing around a bit, but I'm doing what I can. I'm hunkered down away from reality a bit up north. I'm in Big Sur, and I've been up here for 3 days. There's no TV. The Wi-Fi is spotty. I made a choice. To come up here, as I told you guys before, that I was checking out for a few days because I felt like I'd done all I could, and that I didn't want to get caught up. I didn't want to be caught up in the frenetic unfolding of numbers and maps all day long and all night long. I couldn't handle it. And I believe I made the right choice. I'm staying up here. It's still one more day. I'm recording this on Wednesday afternoon, just barely afternoon. All I know right now is that ballots are still being counted. There's no reason to heed any declarations of victory by the monster, and that every ballot will be counted. And hopefully, in terms of that particular process, it will be honored when the outcome is declared properly. I will say today on the show, we do have an interview with Heidi Schreck. She's a playwright, and I found out about her by seeing her Broadway play, What the Constitution Means to Me. She was also a kind of a friend of my late girlfriend, Lynn Shelton, and I went with her to see the show. She had seen it before. I'd never seen it. And we went and spoke to Heidi backstage a bit, and I was really taken with her and her passion, and also just the fact that it educated me. I mean, this is a personal play about the Constitution, about the lack of representation for large swaths, large numbers of people, and she made it very personal. And I think it's also relevant to what's happening right now, to the sort of drop off in younger people voting, younger people feeling like they're engaged in this process, younger people not even educated in civics or what government means or how it works or the basic structure or how our voices are to be honored. I mean, this play about the Constitution is really about women and people of color, not really being represented at all in the evolution of even the minimal representation that they experience to this day. And looking at the Supreme Court as it stands now and the sort of shaking of the foundations of this republic, this democracy, on a constitutional level, it seems like the right show to air right now. Now, again, I'm up here and I am detached. I'm looking out at the ocean at night. I'm looking at stars. I'm feeling the sort of smallness of being a human in a beautiful world and wondering, how that world is going to look eventually, given that we have ongoing ecological disasters that need to be addressed, ongoing governmental disasters that need to be addressed. And, will they be addressed? I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that want them addressed, but what do we have to do? What is our personal responsibility? It's odd because when I came up here, I felt like, hey, I voted. I've been talking to you guys, twice a week throughout this, being honest about what's happening without being a pundit or being another source of news, but just being a guy that's relating. But it starts to kind of really feel like the calling is going to be a little deeper as we move into hopefully what will be a Biden presidency. That obviously Trump is going to be an American cult leader, the leader of Trumpism in this country, even after this election. So what is required of us as individuals to sort of, guarantee constitutional representation, guarantee the rights of the underclass, guarantee that we'll move towards saving the planet? I mean, how do we do this? It has to be more than just lip service, which I am guilty of. We're all, I think, somewhat guilty of feeling like we've done something, and maybe we have, but is there more we can do? I don't know. I mean, these are thoughts that I hope we're all entertaining. But it's all terrifying, and the fact that this was even close is a terrible indicator for the country. Look, I had a dark night of the soul, I guess, as many of you did. I don't even know if it's a dark night of the soul as much as it is a sweaty night of terror. How often do you find yourself hoping for a do-over, folks, a fresh start? We all want that from time to time, but it's especially true if you're someone who has a criminal background, which, by the way, is 1 in 4 Americans. 1 in 4. That's a lot of our fellow Americans. Imagine if your future, your security, your family, your livelihood depended on it. The opportunity to not just do good work, but to get back to work. Dave's Killer Bread believes your past shouldn't be what holds you back. That's why Dave's Killer Bread believes in second chance employment. They know that a job can be the difference between rebuilding your life and returning to a life of crime. It's the purpose behind every loaf they make, and it fuels the Second Chance program. That's a great cause, and we really support it. And the bonus on top of it is that this is great bread, actually. It's very good. Try that 21 whole grains and seed bread. I'm telling you, it's as good as they say it is. For real. I get it. I got a loaf in my freezer. Killer Bread, great cause. Learn more at daveskillerbread.com/second chances. That's daveskillerbread.com/second chances. So yeah, even up here where I've disconnected myself for reasons of my own sanity, I didn't want to sit there alone and panic in front of a TV set with my cat Buster. I chose to sort of force myself into a situation where I wouldn't have access or easy access to the ongoing shit show and maps and numbers, districts and numbers, counties and numbers, names and numbers. And I did avoid it. And I know it's still happening. But nonetheless, I was exhausted yesterday just with the panic and with the fear. And I went to bed at like 8 at night up here in the country on the edge of a cliff. I didn't sleep on the edge of a cliff, but I kind of did, metaphorically in my mind, just sweating through a night of tossing and turning, existential terror, and food dreams, oddly. Some food dreams. I ate some overly rich food, and I think it fucked with me. I'd like to blame it all on the food, but I think it's the fall of America that was the cause of most of it, and my personalizing of it. I mean, this is also the thing, is that I tend to fear for myself, and I have to sort of expand that. Because we're all in the same fucking boat here. We're all under the onslaught of plague and potential fascism. We're all in that. And I have to remember that, because I think that is the core of what differentiates a progressive, or a monster, really. I mean, there's this weird sort of identity politics business that goes on, that these Republicans have convinced people that there's a huge white voting bloc that always shows up to vote Republican. They've been taught to fear that what they've got will be taken from them, that somehow they will be robbed of their birthright, that somehow their property, their money, their way of life will be taken from them. And that is the most important thing. I want what's mine. I want to keep what's mine. Fuck you. And this particular president is one of the great fuck you artists of all times, because he's taken that idea of independence, of it's some sort of malignant, mutated monster of an idea of working hard to get what you got and holding on to it. because it's different, because he steals what he has. He grifts. He does it without paying attention to laws or right or wrong. There's no moral compass. There's no truth compass. It's just that by any means necessary, take it. And somehow or another, that's become easily rationalized by so many people in their minds. They were already selfish, but now it's like, fuck them all. And fuck laws, and fuck them if they're not smart enough to get it. That's why he's surrounded by fucking grifters. And what about fascism? What about this team sports notion of how government works, the red and the blue teams? Because it turns out that nothing really made a difference in this election. There were bigger numbers, but it wasn't the economy, it wasn't COVID, it wasn't the debates, it wasn't fucking anything. More people voted, but percentage-wise, people voted the way they did in 2016 as they did today. And then I always get concerned about, is it that these Americans crave a strong man? Do they crave actual fascism? Do they want a daddy that will, just kind of keep a myopic, sort of narrow-minded view of what life should be, and they were willing to sort of kill or vote for that? Is that what it is? Or is it more shallow than that? I just wonder, there's this assumption that conscience is part of the human brain. The conscience has evolved in our species from some sort of primitive idea or biological notion that animals, as animals, we care for others in our species, that conscience evolved. I'm not a philosopher, but it just seems that conscience is something that requires vigilance, and that, many people who are monsters think they have conscience, and that it's completely relative to the moral construction of your values, and that it's easily fucked with. And that, if you watch, depending on what information you take in and your inability or lack of desire to mind your mind so they don't mind your mind, that compromises your conscience. I think we underestimate the epistemic crisis in this country, this lack of seeing or accepting or believing what is true if there is repetition involved, and there is a sort of hypnotic non-truth posited in your fucking brain recording machine, and that's what you believe in. And I know it gets a little crazy, but this all goes back for me to the idea of people need to believe in something. And I think that at this juncture we are in sort of the United State of cognitive dissonance of different kinds. I don't know if we ever come out of it, but I do know one thing, that there's something very shallow. It's not even, it's tribalism, I guess, but it's also just, it feels like just team sports. Have you ever noticed on Twitter how many trolls, if you go to their page, it's just sports? Have you ever, it just, that there's no real civic engagement other than fuck you. Fuck you. And I know it goes on both sides a bit, but I think the basic premise in terms of the difference between what is thought to be democratic or thought to be progressive is that team wants to make sure that everyone is taken care of, that we spread the resources out, that we all have health care, that we all have these basic things that could make life comfortable, that everybody has a shot, has an equal opportunity to make a go of it. That is the idea of the collective, and that is the idea of the progressives, and that is sort of ingrained in the democratic idea. That's one team. That I guess you would call the blue team. And then the other team is really all about wanting to see the blue team cry. That's it. We just want to see them cry. That's the depth of it. Fuck you, I got mine, and cry, baby. Are you going to cry? Cry. That's the other team. And that's the team that is sort of brought to a fervor, a fury by this lawless fucking king that we have in place right now. So, look, man, again, I don't know exactly what's happening. I don't know what will be happening when this posts. But I do know that we're doing our best during this pandemic to make sure things don't get out of control. And that includes facial hair, folks. We've already got Brendan taking care of his pandemic beard with Harry's. And now we've got Frank using Harry's as well. And why not? Harry's has new sharper blades, and is still the most honest value in razors. Harry's was founded as a return to the essentials. Quality blades at an honest price, as well as $2 per refill. They source their steel from